Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you're watching this transmission. 'Tis I, Mike Martins. Welcome to another special edition of Housing Discussion here. And let's go back to 2014. Why are we going back to 2014, people? Why? Do you know why we're going back to 2014? I found an article that I read back in 2014 for my channel that got deleted. I don't know, almost a year ago. Why? I don't know. But now, I believe in my heart of hearts that there's about 60 to $90 billion laundered in Australia through real estate. Canada is just a phenomenal. They were being very conservative about the numbers, and there's some analysis saying this it could be up to 200 billion in laundered money with a ton of shadow flipping. And a lot of people are saying, well, shadow flipping, Mike, won't work in Australia because of the stamp duty. You know what? The stamp duty works out a lot less than having to pay the mafia, layer money, layer it through a business, or put it through other means. You know, it's much easier to pay your dues in the stamp duty and get it done with. And then you flip it back and forth to the same people, the same property, between two shell companies, and flip it 30, 40 times and just clean hundreds of millions of dollars through a couple of people easily. Now, this article I read, and I think this is the article that kind of sparked a problem, and it actually got flagged the first time. Then it was put back up after I appealed it. Okay, and this was in 2018. I started noticing all my Australian housing videos were just getting wiped. So this article is from 2014. Now we're going to go back to 2014 because this was a very crucial time, because I was noticing the exact same patterns in Vancouver. Exactly. And everyone thought I was severely delusional, which I kind of am, but still. Foreign demand is making Sydney's housing problem worse. So they knew about it in February 2014. We just got out of 2013. So I got a lot of people on this channel, especially down under in Australia, that are telling me like, oh, Mike, this started in 2017. Things got out of control in 2017. No, once you start bringing in foreign money and start deregulating markets, it starts crippling the Australian proper. It starts small and it starts to mount up. I don't care what analytic structure you have and all the graphs. That's why I don't use graphs. It's a bunch of garbage. How are you gonna formulate anything without knowing real numbers? You think they're gonna actually tell you how much money is laundered back in 2014? Now it's gotta come out. It came out in Canada. I read the articles. Look at Canada money laundering. Billions. Now they're pushing for 200 billion. That's total. And they're saying it's like 80 billion through real estate, and the rest is through casinos and stuff. Now, so pay attention. This is from 2014, and I've already read this article, so I should be able to read it right with my dyslexia. Last year, median house price in Sydney rose 15%. 1 year. Last year, 2013. Articles from 2014. You think that's normal, guys? Cash pouring in from foreign investors is one of the drivers of this change. So this is from Monday 17th of February 2014. So they knew that this was a problem. Why wasn't it addressed by the politicians? Why weren't the people, the Australian proper, putting in laws to prevent this from happening? I even brought up a video that got flagged about mirroring other countries. My mirrored idea for immigration is solid. Okay, it works like this. Hi, I'm a citizen. I'm a Portuguese citizen. I really am. I'm from Portugal. I'm a Portuguese citizen, right? But I want to move to Australia. What does Australia offer for what's the treaty between Portugal and Australia? Well, Mike, you can't live here. Fair enough. Can I buy there? Yes, if you get this visa and this visa, this visa. Okay, what are my options? This. Got it. Okay. Now, Portugal in reverse would say for someone from Australia to move to Portugal, they would have to do the exact same thing that Australia is offering Portugal. Vice versa. And that's a mirrored. So, for example, Mexico, and I'm not picking on Mexico. I lived in Mexico for 2 years, okay? And I speak Mexican. So, Mexico, I tried to buy a house in 2 states in 2 different times, and they wouldn't sell me a house because I was a foreigner. I tried buying one as a Portuguese. They're like, you're still a foreigner. Okay, but I'm Canadian. You're a foreigner. Damn, because I hold 2 passports. So, you get what I'm saying here. So, if Mexicans wanted to go to Australia, Australians would say, well, we're using our mirrored immigration law. If an Australian isn't allowed to buy in Mexico, then a Mexican's not allowed to buy in Australia. So there's a lot of countries. A lot of people think, oh, I'm an Australian, they love us. Oh, I'm a Canadian, they love us. You can't buy in our country. So all these countries are open and welcoming and warming to everybody, but when they step outside, when the people in these countries step outside to go to other countries, it's not the same. You know what I'm saying? So that's why a nice mirrored immigration system. Let's say Brazil and Canada had really great ties. Oh, if you're from Brazil, you can come and study for 9 months. You don't need a visa to visit. You don't need this. So same thing for Canadians visiting Brazil. Do you get that? You get my drift? So that's a really good system. And when I brought that video up after this one, that had a problem too. So it's like, I'm not understanding what I'm saying that's so wrong. I'm just trying to solve this problem, right? You know, there's a lot of countries, like I can, as a Canadian, for example, I'm dual citizen. As a Canadian, there's a lot of countries I can't go to and buy. Like for me to buy in Brazil as a Canadian, I can't do it, right? They won't let me. But for me to buy in Brazil as a Portuguese, I could do it. There's different treaties with different countries, right? Okay, every weekend in Sydney, young Australian couples are turning up at auctions, excited at the prospect of finally owning their own home, only to find that other bidders are wealthy foreign buyers with money to burn. There you go. They want to park money in foreign countries. Why wasn't this addressed if 2013 homes went up 15%, why wasn't this brought up to somebody's attention in power? Or somebody, I don't know, that you voted in that was going to protect you? Last year, median house prices in Sydney rose by a crazy 15%. In some suburbs, by up to 27 points. Cash pouring in from China is one of the principal drivers, and this flood of unregulated investment, coupled with other factors driving up Sydney house prices, are slowly changing the city's social fabric in a way that will be felt for generations to come. Couples planned families can no longer afford to buy in the suburbs where they grew up, where they have built friendships, networks, or where they work. Forced further and further west and south, they are progressively cut off from their old neighborhoods. That's why Sydney, right? Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland, London, Los Angeles, Vancouver, all these cities, Paris, are turning into empty shells. Empty shells, right? Watching weekly actions, one of the real estate agents from Northern Sydney told the Australian Financial Review that some Australians were sick of going out to auctions and being outbid by Chinese buyers, paying above the odds. Anecdotally, the Herald recently reported an auction for a Chastwood apartment at which all 16 registered bidders were ethnic Chinese, and other auction in Eastwood, all 38 registered bidders were Asian. According to the estate agent in John McGrath, the property sold for $1 million above the reserve price. So how is the Australian proper going to get in there and get this right here? This right here. Why don't they regulate? Why don't they regulate this to protect the people? And well, Mike was in Australia. You never been. I don't need to go to Australia. I lived in Vancouver. It's the same crap. Of course, the real estate agents are complaining in a booming market. Yeah, now they're working serving coffee at Tim Hortons. They share in spoils. Savvy agents are now traveling to China to talk up Sydney properties. Remember I told you guys this when it happened in Seattle? Once they passed the foreign buyer's tax in 2017 in Vancouver, a pile of real estate agents went to China to talk up some of their clients up there and bring them to Seattle, south of Vancouver, once they implemented that buyer's tax, and Seattle went to hell. And right now, it's just an absolute disaster in Seattle right now. Savvy agents now traveling to China to talk up Sydney properties and advertise homes in Mandarin. Prominently agent Ray White has set up an office in Beijing, from where he boasts they now catch the best fish. Jiawei.com, the leading broker connecting Chinese buyers with overseas property, estimates that 63 million Chinese are rich enough to buy property abroad. 63 million. What is it, 25 million in Australia? And how many Australians live in Australia? Australian proper. It claims that over the last 3 years, the number of Chinese buyers in Australia has grown ninefold, faster than anywhere else. For wealthy Chinese looking for a safe haven, both for their money and for themselves, it is hard to go past Australia. The impact of those buyers on Sydney property has only just begun. So apparently it's just begun, even though 2013, you saw an increase of 15 points for the year. That's what they're telling you. That's what they're telling you. Remember, we don't know what's really going on, right? As the value of the dollar falls, foreign buyers will be paying less for Sydney real estate, and the Chinese government is relaxing restrictions on Chinese wanting to buy overseas assets. Real estate agents report that Chinese buyers often buy several properties in a new development as a family group. Joseph NGO and agent TJ Hooker and Glenn Waverly said that paying $100,000 to $200,000 over the market price is not a problem for these buyers. The same is happening in Melbourne, if not quite at Sydney's intensity, but not at the intensity of Sydney. So Melbourne was starting to see that back in 2013, right? And what happened 4 years before? 3 years before the crash of Perth, right? Perth crashed, but Perth crashed because why? The mining boom went bust, right? Under Australian law, foreigners are not permitted to buy second-hand homes unless an exemption is granted. They may buy new dwellings but must obtain approval from Foreign Investment Review Board, FIRB. But FIRB simply rubber stamps applications. In 2011 to 2012, it refused only 13 applications, down from 43 earlier. Less than 0.01% of the total. In 2011 to 2012, FIRB approved 4.2 billion of Chinese spending in Australia. Billion! So when I'm saying 65 to 85 billion I'm in laundered money, I'm being very conservative, people. That's just from 2011 to 2012. Essay. Residential, commercial, and real estate. It has to publish figures for 2012 and 2013, but agent says inquiries from clients of Chinese origin have doubled over the last year. And that's from 2013 essay. A good deal of secrecy surrounds the trend, yet observers know something worrying is happening. The Reserve Bank of Australia, RBA, is quietly investigating why Sydney house prices are rising much faster than the bank mortgage lending. After all, its concern is understandable. Housing bubbles keep economic managers awake at night, but brings everybody down. So why is the Australian government allowing this to occur? Here we go. I want to hear this. Even the government of Hong Kong, concerned that mainland Chinese investors were pushing up house prices, slapped a 15% tax on outside buyers. It worked immediately, causing cash-up Chinese investors to look further afield, including Australia. So, why is okay, let's see if they tell us why the Australian government is allowing this to occur. Okay, let's see if it says it here. While not only factor driving up house prices, negative gearing. Okay, so why is the Australian government allowing this to occur? Oh, it's asking the question. Never mind. So they weren't going to answer it here. God forbid they tell us why, right? While not only the factor driving up house prices, negative gearing has a lot to answer for. The impact of Chinese investment has been substantial. Treasurer Joe Hockey could stop it tomorrow if he choose to. Oh, Gordie Howe. Wow. He could go, for example, to instruct a FIRB to put away the rubber stamp and apply the public interest test. In granting approvals, FIRB is required to consider the impact of each investment on the economy and the community. So maybe if we go back to FIRB, maybe FIRB, what does FIRB stands for? First Irregular Red Bandits? I don't know. FIRB is required to consider the impact of each investment on the economy and the community. I'm going to say that one more time in case your ears don't believe you. FIRB is required to consider the impact of each investment on the economy and the community. Now, what if the FIRB and the government, they're all working together, right? But let's say there's no reverb coming from FIRB and heading up the ladder, so the higher ups don't get what's really happening. The higher ups, most of them have no idea what's going on. I don't know if you guys watch South Park. A lot of the higher ups are like Tally. I don't know if you know Tally from South Park. A lot of higher ups are like that. They have no idea what's going on around them. It's one thing to allow unrestricted foreign investment in businesses, and a case can be made that selling Australian mineral resources to China has a little downside. But housing is not just another asset. It's where people live, put down roots, raise families, and join their communities. Hallelujah. That's beautifully written. I don't even think Winston Churchill could have said that even better. Some experts in China, they have experts in China? Believe that the rush of Chinese investment into Sydney property over the last couple of years, last couple of years, articles from 2014. So when did this start? I've been saying the longest time to 2010. After the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver. Some experts in China believe that the rush of Chinese investment into Sydney property over the last couple of years is just the tip of the iceberg. A prudent government would see where we are headed and take steps now. A prudent government will see and take steps now. That's it. Go ahead and screw your own people. You know what's happening. They know it's been happening. I read this article in 2014 in February. I was actually outside of my house reading this, and it was raining. It was snowy, cold in Vancouver. I remember reading this article. I was wearing my black leather jacket, and I think my son was just like 1 year old or 2 years old, right? 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Nope. He was just, I think he was, he wasn't even born yet. So it was, wow, it's been that long. Holy crap. So yeah, it's been a while, guys. So I wanted to throw this out there for you guys. It's by The Guardian. I'm not going to leave a link in the comments because the video won't get out there. Guys, if you want to support me on Patreon, go ahead, guys. If you guys want to follow me on minds.com. A lot of people asking me if I have Facebook. I really don't go on Facebook anymore. Just go on minds.com. I'm on minds.com. It's like Facebook but freedom, yeah, go ahead and do that, guys. Share one of my videos if you want to get me out there. And yeah, I think it's better to go back in the past so we can start to unravel what is happening. I'm gonna put myself out there. And I'm going to state there's about 61, 62, mid-60 billion to 85 billion laundered in Australia. 65 billion to 85 billion in Australia laundered. And I'm going to throw out there maybe 17 billion in New Zealand. And I'm going to say about 44 billion in the UK. 200 billion in Canada. Well, okay, some of it went through casinos. So let's say 88 billion, 90 billion in Canada. And then in the United States, I'm not too sure, but they are very cowboy down there when it comes to you bringing money in overseas. They're very tough in the US. If you don't declare, or oh man, they don't care in the US. They would put you in jail if they have to. They don't care. So what do you guys think in the comments below? I'd like to know. Thanks for watching this, and please share this transmission and get me out there. Thanks for watching.